Well, good morning and welcome to 2025. Granny Gear here for Old Guy and a Bike. Well, I'm out on Project Curly today where hopefully I'm getting ready for an overnighter trip with buddy Dennis. We'll see if that comes off or not. But in the meantime, I had a little bit of front brake work to do to get that work in. Now I got to get the racks back on. I got to get my bike packing stuff up. I'm going to be a busy fellow today. So little updates, I think, on Project Curly, what I've changed and how that's been so far to ride. And more than that, in this video, I'll be talking about what the future is for what I'm calling really the new crop of drop bar mountain bikes. Ooh, it's a windy day. I'm gonna hide kind of by this big old oak tree. Hopefully that'll work out okay for you guys. And we'll talk a little bit about how it's been to ride Project Curly, what I think of it so far, what it's good for, what it maybe isn't so good for, and what I see, because there's been an interesting amount of media attention lately, at least looking at YouTube, on this whole concept of what I'm calling a drop bar mountain bike. I think it's the best term. And I have some thoughts about how I think maybe this will play out in 2025. Before I do that though, what do you think about these new Moab sunglasses? These are from Tifosi. You know, the Tifosi folks. I got a great relationship with them and I said, what do you got new for 2025? And they said, well, have you seen the Moab? And I said, no, I haven't. Well, I'm wearing it. If you like it, well, I think you should check out my affiliate code in the description. All right, on to drop bar mountain bikes. Now you can check out my video series on Project Curly, how I created it and why I created it. And I'm going to link that at the end of the video. I won't go into that too far, but real quick, just to say, I have basically converted a old 29er or 27.5 Plus. It could do either. Hardtail with a 120 fork that I had in the garage. It must have been almost a 10-year-old bike maybe at this point. And I thought, hey, you know what? I wonder if I could do something with that because I was kind of inspired by what I was seeing in the ultra endurance off-road racing scene. And there were people riding converted, either full suspension or hardtail mountain bikes converted to drop bars because that combination of tire capacity, geometry, front suspension fork, gearing, and the drop bar gave them an amazing vehicle really to cover very, very difficult ground for hours and hours and hours and days. And the drop bars gave them multiple hand positions. And if you're doing that type of riding, a flat bar can be a real wrist wrecker. Quite different than your typical mountain bike ride experience. Now, it has been a lot of fun to ride it. I said I'm getting ready for a couple bike packing trips here. And hopefully winter won't, as much as winter as we get here, won't close in on me and make that difficult. But then there's always the desert. We can go there. In the meantime, been riding it. I made one significant change recently to it, and it's worked out great. I went from plus size 27.5 2.8s to a 29 by 2.4 WTB Ranger tire, which is not a super aggressive tire, but not a slick either. And I think it's a nice compromise to the type of use I'll see on this bike. And by the way, liking the tires very much. But even more than that, the transformation going to the 29-inch wheel and the 2.4 tire made the handling of this bike, which felt a little odd. And I thought, well, is it the handlebar? Obviously I'm messing around with what the designers intended with this mountain bike. Or is it the Plus tires? Because Plus tires and fat bike tires, they got some odd traits. Well, it was mostly those Plus tires, because with these 2.4 WTB Rangers on there and a nice 29-inch wheel, oh man, is this bike more fun to ride, and it handles surprisingly naturally feeling. Not that weird at all. Really, really a good upgrade. I'll keep the Plus tires around for maybe a big desert ride or something, but for now, I think these are going to stay on there. Now, I've been watching a few videos recently. It seemed like they all hit around the end of the year. And I think one was from the Global Mountain Bike Network, one was from GCN. There was one, Benjamin LeChappers. Just Shappers. I may not, sorry, Benjamin, if I'm murdering your name. He just did a conversion of a mountain bike to drop bars, and I just saw another one by Kurt Refsnyder, and sorry, these last names are, you guys, I don't know, I may be doing it right. Anyway, Kurt, I'm going to put links up to these videos in the description. He just did a conversion for a multi-day desert bikepacking trip. Well, after experiencing Project Curly for a while, it has me thinking, is this going to be the next big thing? Will the industry at large adopt this? Will we start seeing factory-built drop bar mountain bikes coming ready for what they think is going to be the next wave of something to sell you? Well, I don't think so. Well, and here's why. A few quick reasons. To begin with, it's not a very good mountain bike. Now, I say that because it started out, before I messed with it, being a really quite a good little mountain bike. Oh, not huge capabilities, but your basic little cross-country trail hardtail. Very, very fun little bike. Boost, you know, one by, etc., etc. Enough travel in a 124. Fun little bike. I put drop bars on it, which just immediately, frankly, derates the ability of this bike to be taken into very technical, faster, steeper, difficult situations and still have what you would consider a good time, or at least what I would consider a good time. Because you're either in two places on the handlebars, which of course, even though I put a wide drop bar on this from Ritchey, it's not anywhere near what the flat bar was, right? You're either in two places on that wide handlebar. You're on the hoods, okay, which is a comfortable place to be, and that's good up to a point, right? But at some point, just trying to hang on to the hoods and brake there and remain, you know, confident that you're not going to lose control, lose grip. It has its limits. It has its limits, let me tell you. And if you go to the drops, which you get then a lot of grip and a lot of braking control, you're just a very bent over forward position. And if you're doing something where you need to get your weight back and get off of things for steep drops or, you know, that type of thing, or when it gets really fast, I don't think, for most people, they're going to consider that a very worthwhile trade-off if having a mountain bike experience is your priority. You say, Granny Gear, didn't you just make a monster gravel bike when you did this? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, check out my video where I talked about put like a 2.2 mountain bike tire on a gravel bike. Does that make it a drop bar mountain bike? No, this is the flip side of that. I started with a mountain bike. If you're converting a full suspension mountain bike to drop bars, it isn't really a gravel bike. All it is a mountain bike with a different handlebar. That's my opinion. I think that's what it's going to work out, but we shall see. So, as a gravel bike, how is it? Well, it's deadly slow, frankly. It's plodding. It's a 2.4 tire. I can't imagine how much heavier this wheel and tire combination is compared to my gravel bike. It's a lot. The riding position isn't the same. It's got a tiny little front chain ring on it. I mean, it's not a very good gravel bike, at least for the reasons I think most people like a gravel bike, which is they're lighter, they're faster, they're agile, they're capable. Yes, you're underbiking occasionally on them. That's very possible. Sometimes you're overbiking, but they walk that middle line of being able to do a lot of things pretty well and really be a good time. One of the reasons I like a gravel bike so much. Project Curly, that is not that. So it's not really still a great mountain bike after I messed with it, and yet I did not create a fabulous gravel bike. Even if I put a smaller tire on it, it's just going to be a beast. And I just think for most people, they're going to have a really good reason to want a bike like this. And I did. I think for some types of adventure riding where the different hand positions are absolutely great. If you're doing something like the Great Divide mountain bike route or I don't know, you name it, some kind of multi-day, multi-hour off-road adventure. And hand positions overcome the loss of technical ability in the bike. This is where this bike absolutely rocks. Ooh, I almost forgot, and I remembered as I was riding home, because you would have said in the comments, well, Granny Gear, what about what we see happening in the gravel racing world where some of the pros are riding drop bar mountain bikes instead of gravel bikes? How about that, huh? If they're slow, what's the deal? Well, I'm thinking of guys like Dylan Johnson and Keegan Swinson, two of the most recent people that I know that have kind of made that pop, at least in the eyes of the general public. Now, Dylan Johnson, he's an interesting guy. He's a young up-and-coming gravel racer, fast young man, and he likes trying different things. And he got to thinking that for some race courses, somewhere, if I reduce the chance of pinch flats, and if it's technical enough where a bigger tire is faster than a lighter, smaller gravel tire, well, then why wouldn't I want to ride a mountain bike, except I don't want to give up the aerodynamic benefits. So how about if I put a, probably narrower than this bar, drop bar handlebar on a fast mountain bike and run like a fast 2.2. And he even took that combination, I think, into a wind tunnel. Pretty crazy, just to see what it would do. Now, I think for the right circumstances, the way he's thinking, it makes sense. But for general gravel riding, I don't think it does. Well, Keegan Swinson, he wins pretty much every gravel event he signs up for. He is right now, he is the #1 gravel racer in America as far as I know. Now, he recently won Leadville 100 on a mountain bike converted to drop bars. But keep in mind that the Leadville 100, first of all, it's not a gravel race, it's a mountain bike race. However, there's a lot of that you could ride a gravel bike on it and probably be faster, because it's relatively, well, most of it, very non-technical. Speeds are high in those places, and he was betting that the trade-off with places like Columbine and Powerline, those really technical parts of that race, where he might be giving up a little bit of control with the drop bars over a flat bar, that he'd make up the difference in those long, fast stretches because he'd be more aero. Well, he won either way. He won with flat bars, he won with drop bars, so maybe Keegan, he can just win no matter what. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that. I'm not sure how much that applies to you and me, but it is something to note, and you probably will be seeing more of that in the gravel pro world. Those guys go very, very fast, and I wouldn't be surprised actually if you see that next year in something like Unbound, because pinch flats, and that's a reality there, and running a mountain bike tire reduces that quite a bit. All right, back to the oak tree. And so will the big guys, Specialized or Giant or whoever, come out with a drop bar mountain bike? Well, maybe, but it's a big stretch for them. When you think of how much money they have to invest in maybe even a new carbon mold, because if you convert an existing frame, top tubes have gotten very long on mountain bikes. This is an older bike, and it's a size smaller for me, so I made it work. But generally, if you're going to put drop bar on a bike, you want a shorter top tube to begin with. Well, if you're going to do that, well, that means a new carbon mold, because almost all these new bikes from the big guys are carbon. That's a lot of money. Then you got to advertise it, you got to stock parts for it, and if you're going to sell 5,000 of them or something, it just isn't worth it. But it is a place where the small builders can come in and really, really shine, because if you're building in metal and you got a jig, you can really basically just tweak the jig a little bit, cut the metal shorter, peak it a little bit, tweak it for the drop bar experience, and yet still begin with basically what was your mountain bike frame. And wow, you've got a ready-made drop bar mountain bike that, well, if you only sell 100 of them that year, that's not so bad, right? So to wrap this up, I think Project Curly, totally worthwhile for me, but I had the reason to want it. I knew that for the bike packing adventures I was going to do, that this would be, I think, a brilliant bike. Now, I'm going to find out. I'll use it more and more. And here's the thing. If it doesn't work out, I still got the flat bars. Just put it right back to the way it was and then use it. So since the big guys probably aren't going to make one for you to buy on a showroom, and the little guys, well, they might, but it may not be, well, affordable for you, right? Well, here's a thought. I did this pretty cheap. There are a lot of unused mountain bikes sitting around in people's garages. I would suggest you get one new enough to be boost. One by works really, really well. I converted this to the shifting with using some SRAM bits and some conversion parts, and that's in my videos. You can go watch that to find that out. But now with companies like Microshift, and maybe there's even more coming in and making really very affordable, matchy type of shifter to mountain bike type rear derailleurs, etc. Well, if that's coming along, that makes this type of conversion much easier. So, for maybe very, very little money, you can actually find a used mountain bike and do your own conversion and have a really, really good time. And if no one else wants to do it but you, who cares? Well, that's it for now, for today. Might have some more thoughts on some other trends I see coming up. Interesting things I think we're developing in 2024. and we'll see where they're going in 2025. Maybe the next couple videos I'll chat those up too. All right, you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to get on this bike and finish my ride and make sure that it's actually working very well, and because I don't want something to go wrong on my trip, and well, you know how that would be. You guys have a great weekend. As always, go ride your bikes, no matter what kind of handlebars it has on it.